Since then, Senator Warren has put up a relentless fight and a white-hot spotlight on the issue of income inequality and economic fairness. Today, she's teaming up with another champion, Congressman Elijah Cummings, launching the Middle Class Prosperity Project. They write, quote, "For more than 30 years, America's middle class has been hammered. Powerful interest groups, massive corporations, and the super rich rigged the system to jack up their profits and grab the spoils for themselves. It's time to change that system." Yes, it is time. So how do you do that? Joining me now is Senator Elizabeth Warren and Congressman Elijah Cummings. Thank you both for being here.
Good evening.
Good to be here.
Senator Warren, tell me about your new initiative.
Well, so Congressman Cummings and I have teamed up because we look around and we see that the economy is starting to recover, that rich people are doing great, that Fortune 500 companies are doing great, that the stock market is doing great, but that hardworking people are not doing so great. And that's because of choices that are made right here in this place, right here in Washington. Right now, Washington works for those who can hire armies of lobbyists, for those who can hire armies of lawyers, but it's just not working for working families. What we've done is we're organizing a project to say we're ready to fight back. We're ready to fight on behalf of middle-class families, working people all across this country.
Congressman Cummings, we know you as a fighter. What do you hope this project achieves?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that we inform the American people and the Congress of exactly what's happening, and make sure they understand that while they are working harder and producing more, that their paychecks aren't showing that. In other words, we want them to be clear that the corporate CEOs and shareholders are taking the bigger share of the profits, and their wages are stagnating, and we want them to understand that a lot of that has to do with policies of the federal government and that it can be changed. So the number one thing we're trying to do, first of all, is inform, and then we want to move to reform to try to address some of those issues through legislation.
Senator, you know, for decades, American wages grew with the economy. But that started changing around the 1970s. Productivity's up almost 75% since 1973, while wages have risen just over 9%. What is the core of the problem? What's really driving this, Senator Warren?
So, you know, we had today at our forum, we had in some top economists who came in and talked about exactly what's happened. And here's how I put it. From about 1935 to 1980, 90% of America, everybody outside the top 10%, they took in about 70% of all the wage growth. They were, in other words, as our economy was getting more productive, the median income was going up for workers across the spectrum. Then, starting in 1980 until 2012, you look at that period, the 90%, they got zero income growth. Zero. None.
Wow.
And the reason for the difference, that's a big part of what we talked about today in this forum. The reason for the difference are, in part, federal policies made right here. So, for example, just to pick one, back in from 1935 to 1980, we had strong unions, and workers had a strong voice in America, a strong voice in the economy. That really got ripped away from them. It got ripped away from them with bad trade deals. It got ripped away from them with a government that began to undermine unionization. And when workers lost power in the economy, their wages flatlined. And what happened is all of the money from their increased productivity just went to the CEOs, the shareholders. It didn't go to the workers. So that's at least a part of it.
Yeah, well, Congressman, if right in that building some of the federal policy helped to lead to this, it will take federal policy to undo what federal policy has done. How do you and Senator Warren plan to get that done with a Republican Congress and Senate?
Well, you know, Rev, you have taught us that you got to have an outside game.
Yep.
And that's why I talk so much about informing the public. We believe that if the public can back us up on things like tax reform that benefit the middle class and daycare, helping people address issues of daycare and the cost of education, and they understand that it can be changed and it must be changed, then they will force their representatives to do the right thing. We're determined to make this happen. And, we don't have any choice. As I said in the hearing today, we do not have the right to remain silent. And by the way, the middle class they're not asking for a handout, Reverend. They're asking for just a fair shake.
And I think that is what clearly, Senator Warren, you've been saying. The handouts have gone to the top 1%. They are the ones that have gotten the big lift here.
And they're the ones who've gotten the tax breaks. I mean, that's another part of it. 1935 to 1980, we had much more progressive taxation. And we said to those at the top, good for you that you made it, but you got to kick back into the kitty so we can make those investments in education, so we can build those roads and bridges and power structures, so that we can invest in basic research, so we can build a future for all of our kids. That's gone away, and it's gone away because of policies made right here in this building.
Well, Congressman, we even see, I'm out of time, but we even see some of the Republicans in 2016 now talking about income inequality.
That's sad, and that's very unfortunate. The thing, too, Reverend, is that it's very important that we address this issue. Because what happens is that if we can straighten this issue out, what that means is that people will have more money to spend, more discretionary money, so that they can help the economy grow. Keep in mind, 70% of the GDP is consumer spending. So if they don't have the money, then a lot of these businesses will not be able to make the kind of money that they could. So we've got this is something that we're all in this together, and that's the thing. We've got to make sure that people understand. We got to work together and we can address this issue.
Senator Warren, before we go, I'm not going to ask that same question you keep getting asked about, are you running for president? You already told me that. But you had a meeting with Hillary Clinton, and I'm not even going to ask you about your private meeting. You didn't invite me. But a lot of progressives about whether she'll be a progressive warrior. What would you say to them?
You know, I think that's what we got to see. I want to hear what she wants to run on and what she says she wants to do. That's what campaigns are supposed to be about.
All right, I'll accept that. I'll take it at that. Senator Elizabeth Warren and Congressman Elijah Cummings, thank you both for your time tonight.
Thank you,
Thank you.